Right under the bustling streets of modern Rome, there's a whole other city, a silent, sprawling city of the dead, miles and miles of dark tunnels that hold centuries of secrets. These are the Roman catacombs. But the story most of us have heard, this dramatic tale of persecution and secret worship, well, it might not be the real story at all. So let's dig in, literally.
I mean, this is the picture we all have in our heads, isn't it? Brave early Christians hiding out from ruthless Roman emperors, gathering by flickering candlelight deep in the earth to practice their forbidden faith. It's a really powerful, cinematic legend, and it's totally shaped how we see these places.
So, the big question is that dramatic picture actually accurate? Or is the reality buried under, well, layers and layers of myth? Today, we're going to use modern archaeology and some seriously cutting-edge science to peel back those layers and find the true and maybe even more fascinating story of the Roman catacombs. So let's start with that legend because it is compelling. It paints this picture of Christians on the run, fleeing the terror of emperors like Nero, and creating these huge underground networks as their only safe place. A place to bury their dead, sure, but also a place to live their faith totally hidden from the world above. That's the story we see in books and movies.
So you've got the myth on one side. The catacombs were a secret Christian invention designed for hiding out and for worship. But then you look at what archaeologists have actually found, and well, it tells a completely different story. The evidence shows they were publicly known cemeteries, first used by pagans and Jews, and they really only had one purpose: burial. And when you lay it all out on a timeline, things get really clear. The first Christian burials don't even show up until the early 3rd century. Radiocarbon dating has confirmed that Jewish communities were using catacombs in Rome back in the 1st century AD. That's more than 100 years before the Christians started. So they didn't invent the practice, they adopted it. Okay, so if they weren't these super secret hideouts, then what were they? Let's keep going and see how the real story is built on something a lot more practical.
Sometimes the biggest clues are hiding in plain sight. Take the word catacomba itself. It comes from the Latin ad catacombus, which just means next to the quarry. It wasn't some code word for a secret hideout. It was basically just a geographical description, like a street address. And here's the real kicker, the main reason for their location. Ancient Roman law strictly prohibited burying the dead inside the city walls. And this applied to everyone, pagans, Jews, Christians, you name it. Land outside the city was expensive, so going underground was just a smart, space-saving, and affordable solution. It wasn't about persecution, it was about public health and real estate. So once you strip away all that Hollywood drama, a new picture starts to form, a much more accurate and frankly a much more interesting one that tells us about real life and death in ancient Rome. Get ready for this number, 175 kilometers. That's the estimated total length of all the known catacombs under Rome. An underground network that massive, used by so many different people over hundreds of years, there is just no way you could keep that a secret. These were well-known public places. But, and this is a big but, this is where the Christian use of the catacombs did become unique. They took the basic idea and they scaled it up, like way up. They created these enormous, multi-level systems for community burials. And they also started centering them around the tombs of martyrs, which transformed them from simple cemeteries into really important pilgrimage sites. The story doesn't stop with the burials, though. The walls of these tunnels are basically priceless art galleries, filled with some of the earliest Christian art in existence. The problem was, for centuries, their real beauty was hidden, and it was a huge challenge for anyone trying to restore them. I mean, think about the environment down there. It's basically a cave, right? We're talking a near constant 96% humidity. So over hundreds of years, you get all this moisture, soot from oil lamps, and these thick, rock-hard mineral deposits caked right over the original paintings. It's a conservator's worst nightmare. For decades, the only way to clean this stuff was with tiny mechanical tools, like scalpels. And while they made some progress, it was a really slow, delicate process that could easily damage the paint underneath. Plus, those really stubborn mineral deposits were almost impossible to get off safely. But then came a total game changer: laser cleaning. Scientists figured out how to use these incredibly precise lasers to literally vaporize the centuries of grime, layer by layer, without ever touching the original paint. And the results, as you can see, they are just breathtaking. It's night and day.
And the payoff has been absolutely extraordinary. This isn't just cleaning, it's rediscovery. In one catacomb, this tech revealed paintings that have been completely invisible before, including what are now believed to be the earliest known paintings of the apostles Peter and Paul. We are literally seeing priceless art for the first time in over 1,500 years.
And the innovation doesn't even stop with physical restoration. Today, cutting-edge digital technology is once again transforming how we see, study, and preserve these incredibly fragile ancient spaces.
Okay, so it starts with this. Researchers go into the tunnels with these high-precision 3D laser scanners. They sweep across all the surfaces and capture millions of individual data points. This raw data creates something called a point cloud. It looks kind of ghostly, but it's a geometrically perfect digital map of the whole space. Next up, powerful software basically plays a giant game of connect the dots. It takes those millions of points and processes them into a continuous 3D mesh. This turns all that scattered data into solid surfaces, creating a complete and accurate digital skeleton of the entire structure.
And for the final step, they wrap that digital skeleton in super high-resolution photographs, and the result is a stunning, photorealistic, completely explorable virtual model of the catacomb, a digital twin. It allows scholars anywhere in the world to study these fragile sites without ever having to set foot inside.
And you really can't overstate how huge this is. For 400 years, ever since they were rediscovered, studying the catacombs as a whole has been pretty much impossible. Researchers even called them invisible monuments. But now, this technology is finally making the invisible visible. It's solving a centuries-old problem. So, think about the journey we just took. We went from a romantic myth about secret hideouts to the practical reality of ancient real estate law, all the way to 21st century laser cleaning and digital preservation. It just makes you wonder, right? If modern technology can so radically change our understanding of a place as famous as the Roman catacombs, what other historical truths are still buried, just waiting for the right tools to bring them to light?